Right, hello, John, mate. Of course, I'm interviewing John, the promoter. So, of course, you've had one event this year. I think it was the Brentwood one, wasn't it?
One this year, yeah. We did one at the back end of last year as well. Brentwood, we were at, about a month ago. That event went well, Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that on YouTube.
Good. What did you think? Did you like the main fight?
Yeah. I thought the undercard was good as well.
Good. That's what we want to do. Make the fans happy, right?
Yeah, I was shocked about that Jack Martin fight because I thought Liam Wells was going to win.
Yeah, I remember me and you texting each other beforehand and you thought he would win. It was a real 50-50 fight that they both had opponents booked in that both pulled out. And then we were really lucky because they're both managed by MTK and Lee Eaton. And I spoke to Lee and I went, look, this fighter's pulled out. So it was real like last minute. And he, do you want to fight each other? Now, quite often at that level, some of them would be like, nah, one of them was 4-0, I think, and the other one was about 7-1.
Yeah.
Quite often they avoid each other, but they were both like, nah, let's get it on. So I expected that to be fight of the night, to be fair, and it was a terrific scrap, that one. Probably outdone by the main fight, which was even better. But no, it was a really good fight. And Jack, to be fair, he deserved it. You know, he just got the pressure on Liam. But Liam will come back. Liam's a great guy. We enjoyed working with him, and hopefully we'll be working with him soon. Great fighter, but just both really strong on the night.
Yeah. Jack Martin did, of course, get the stoppage win in the end.
Right, yeah. I just think he kind of caught Liam and then he just didn't stop, you know. And sometimes when a fighter catches them, they go for him and that's it. But some fighters don't always go for the kill. And I think what he sensed that he had him hurt and he just went. And, you know, really good by Jack. Jack's a really good lad. He beat a guy called Indabassi in the fight beforehand, another MTK fighter.
Yeah.
He probably was the favourite for that fight. And he's making a big name for himself now because I think the division probably, certainly domestically, will be looking at him thinking, I don't want to be facing him at 154 pounds or light middleweight, you know. So we wish Jack well, and Liam. Liam will be back too.
Yeah. Who do you think's next? What's next for Jack Martin?
That's a good question, mate. So I work with lots of different management companies, and when we put shows on, we go out to those managers and try and get the certain people on our card. We really want to work with Jack again. You know, he almost stole the show, like you mentioned. Some would argue that he did, and his performance was that good. So we've got some events lined up. We're back in Essex in Brentwood on June the 4th. Obviously, he's from Essex, so we would love to have him on our show. It may well be that he goes on a different show with someone else or with Lee, and that's his manager at MTK. I'm not sure who they'll put him in with yet, but I think knowing Jack, he's quite keen to move quickly and fight top opponents, as we proved by taking that Liam Wells fight with a week to go. He proved that he had the balls to take it, and he came through. So hopefully it will be like a good level. I think he's ready probably now for a Southern Area title. You know, if you come for a Southern Area title, then he's banging on the door for like an English eliminator or even an English title. But definitely big things to come from Jack.
Yeah. And is that because I saw on Jack's Instagram that he could fight Tommy Jacobs again?
Yeah, that's it. So Tommy Jacobs was due to fight Jack on our card. Tommy obviously had to pull out with an injury with about a week to 10 days to go. So that was really sad that fight didn't come off. Tommy Jacobs is also an undefeated fighter. He has only had one fight, but Tommy Jacobs had a fantastic amateur pedigree a few years back where, you know, he was training with the likes of Billy Joe Saunders, George Groves. He definitely was in very well thought of, and there were a few things in his personal life that stopped him boxing for quite a while. Now he's sort of like trying to make a career of it later on in life. So he's another one, Tommy, who was willing to take the risky fights. I believe Tommy will be due out soon anyway, so that'll be another good scrap if that does happen. And again, would we like to have that on our show? Of course, but if not, yeah, wherever they fight, if they fight each other, be a good fight. Jack would probably be the favourite going into it, but you never know because Tommy's undefeated.
Yeah. I saw that Tommy's got a fight date versus Billy Underwood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Billy Underwood was also someone we had on the card initially, and he had to pull out of injury. He wasn't necessarily fighting a 50-50 fight with someone with an undefeated record. In fact, I don't even think we had his opponent matched at the time, but he had to pull out with injury, which was sad for him and sad for us. So we wished him well. But obviously, if both of those come back from their injury, they'll be fighting. I think that's on a Martin Nielsen card. I might be wrong on that. But again, you've got an undefeated He's Mark Nielsen, yeah. So you know your stuff, mate. I'm well impressed. So he's Tommy undefeated as both of them are. So again, 50-50 fight maybe on paper. We'll see. Be a good fight. Billy might be the favourite going into it.
Yeah, I would like to see Billy fight Jack Martin. I think that's a real 50-50 fight if he does manage to beat Tommy.
Yeah, he's a good fight, definitely. You're right. Their records are very similar. I think Billy's 4-0 himself or 3-0. So should he win that, Jack's 5-0 now. So, and like I said just now when we were talking about Liam as well, hats off to these lads because a lot of the boxers coming through like to have their career steered in a certain way. So you get to 7s and 8s and 9s and 10 and 0s because I think there's a lot that they get hung up nowadays. Like if they get a defeat, a lot of people think, oh, that's it, my career's ruined or I'm rubbish. But that's not the case at all. You know, if you're going to fight someone in a 50-50 fight, it just might not be your night. Any other night, Liam could have won that. You know, I'm sure Jack would think that if they played that back tomorrow, Jack would win it tomorrow. But I wouldn't be shocked if Liam beat Jack next time or, you know, Billy gave Jack a really good fight. And it's good to see these 50-50 fights.
Yeah, definitely. And then there was Chavez Campbell as well. Yeah.
Definitely done your research. So Chavez was on the card. He was due to fight. Was he fighting Jack or Liam? He was fighting Liam. He was fighting Liam, and then Chavez pulled out. We had a different opponent in for Liam. Then obviously Jack was fighting Tommy, but Tommy pulled out with about 10 days to go because they both had injuries. So at that stage, it was like, right, we need to find an opponent for Jack. But their manager, they're managed by the same guy in the same company, MTK and Lee Eaton, yeah? So we know Lee well, and I rang him and said, well, look, this fighter's pulled out. What do you think the best plan is? And hats off to all of them. You know, Lee rang the two of them and they were like, let's fight. And they took it. So, but we wish Chavez well. It's a shame we didn't have him on the card. You know, he trains in a really good gym. Trains in the Neasden gym. There's lots of people in there. Like Dillian White's got links there. So I'm sure his sparring's really good. He's got a great trainer in Dillian White's old trainer as well. So we were looking forward to working with him. But sometimes you just can't help injuries. You know, that's all part and parcel of the sport. And protecting himself for the next fight is the most important. And again, we wish Chavez well for his next fight.
Yeah. Of course, I had Franco on the other day for an interview. His fight was close, wasn't it, on your card?
Yeah, Franco's my boy. So we've known Franco for a couple of years. He made his debut. I think it was on I want to say it was a Sky card. I might be wrong. I'm sure he was on a Richard Riakporhe undercard, and that was a couple of years ago. And then COVID and pandemic, etc., stalled a lot of stuff for a lot of fighters. So he hadn't fought. He was then out on a priority boxing show in York at the back end of last year and got his second win, so 2-0. It's always good to get a heavyweight on your card, right? Because for a lot of casual fans, the heavyweights are the ones they look at. Certainly knockout power and very explosive. And you know, he spars and trains with, I think you and I have mentioned it on text, but he spars with a lot of people. Joe Joyce's, Johnny Fisher. I believe he's sparred Fury before. I might be wrong on that, but he's sparred pretty much a who's who. Derek Chisora, he's always sparring him. So it was good to have him on the card. But the guy he was fighting was a debutant. You know, and when we're matching these fights, you know, Franco was like, who's my opponent? I go, you've got a debutant. He's like, oh, a debutant, because you never know what you're going to get. So again, I've known some fighters in the past where they're like, I don't want to fight a debutant because they get a bit worried that they might be too good for them. But Franco was like, yeah, we'll take that fight. And Luke turned up and he put up a good fight. He bought a few fans as well. So sometimes an away fighter, it was down in Essex. He was the away fighter and he's from Birmingham area. But a few fans came down there. And he did well. You know, he nicked around. It was a 4-rounder. I think it was 3-1 in the end to Franco. Right decision. But Luke certainly made a good account of it and did himself well.
Yeah, I think he can go on the road and upset quite a few fighters.
Yeah, I agree. You know, when you see some of the fights, like, I'm not going to call them journeymen, but sometimes the away fighters, I think Luke, I looked at him, I met him, I only met him the day before the weigh-in, and I just kept looking up. I was like, Jesus Christ, he must have been like 6'7", 6'8", maybe even 6'9". I don't know, but he was that big. And Franco, although he's a big, thick stock heavyweight, there was definitely like a height advantage and probably a reach advantage and went with that. And he did well. I think you're right. You know, let's see what he does with it. Good Errol Johnson fighter from the Midlands. You know, he might make a good account of it for himself as well.
I was talking to Franco about possible fights, and I said maybe Johnny Fisher, And then like George Fox, we were talking about George Fox because he wanted that fight.
Yeah, good shout on both of them. When you're making fights and trying to get them, sometimes it's really hard to get these fights made early doors. So like Johnny Fisher, undefeated, Franco undefeated. That might be a stage where it's a bit early for them, maybe a bit further down the line when there's a little bit more at stake, like maybe a Southern Area title or an English title or something like that. I think Johnny Fisher, obviously with Matchroom, Johnny Fisher is really well followed. He's got a huge support down there in Romford and Essex. And Eddie Hearn steers his career very well. Eddie's the master, so doing well down there. The George Fox one, Sam, I like that. I think George Fox, he fought on a Frank Warren card. He got beat, did he not?
He did, yeah, on points.
Yeah, I see that, and I don't think they expected that, and I don't think they get on. I think there's a little bit of needle there, which always adds to a bit of spice for the fight. So I would quite like that fight. Listen, you should be a matchmaker. That's definitely a fight that should be made. Whether George and Franco would both take that, I know Franco well. I know Franco would take that all day long. I don't know George, but if we get Franco out again, that might be a question we can ask if we can try and make that fight.
I think Franco's up for because I've mentioned lots of names to him, and you'll have to watch it after because I've just uploaded it. But yeah, he seems like he'll take anyone on, to be honest.
Yeah, another brave fighter, and fighters are brave. It takes a lot to get in a ring. You're going to work to be punched in the head, mate. I'm a promoter for a reason because I'm not sure I'd like that, and I probably wouldn't be very good at it myself. But they're brave for getting in the ring, and a lot of them are like, yeah, just give me the good fights. And like I said before, when we were talking about Jack and Liam, that's what you want because the fans are the winners. First of all, straight away you went, oh, that fight between Jack and Liam. You watched it at home on IFL TV on YouTube, but for anyone in the arena or watching it on YouTube, it was like, wow, what a great fight. That's what you want at the end of the day. You don't always want an easy fight where it's obvious who's going to win. So if you can get some 50-50 matchups in, and I'm sure George Fox would have a great shout against Franco. I think that's a great fight, mate, if it can get made.
Yeah, there's lots of fights with your fighters I would like to see, mate.
Say again, buddy?
There's lots of fights that the fighters that have been on your card, I would like to see them matched up with a few fighters.
Say that again. There's a lot of fighters that were on the card that were matched up.
No, I would like to, like Billy Underwood. I said that I wanted him to fight Jack Martin.
Yeah.
So there's lots of fights that I would like to see. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, and like you said, there was a few fighters on there where you could look at it and go, oh, if he fought him, that would be good, and they're fighting different people. And that's what it's all about, right? They get a few wins under their belt, and then it's sort of like take some more risky fights. You've mentioned it yourself. Billy against Tommy Jacobs, that's a good fight. Jack Martin against Tommy Jacobs is a lot. And they're just some of the ones that have either been linked with my events or our events, and maybe have fought each other, but there's tons of other fighters out there with similar records like 3-0s, 4-0s, 5-0s, 8-0s, where if they're happy to take the fights. And it's just better they probably sell more tickets as well, right? Because if you're someone and goes and watches your mate, like your best mates might go to every single one, but sometimes they go, oh, I might miss this one because I've got to buy another ticket or I've got this on. But if it's a proper 50-50 fight and there's a lot on the line, it's more attractive to go and watch it.
Yeah. Of course, on the Brentwood card, Ella's Zorro, was it? Got first round stoppage. He's a class fighter, isn't he?
Love the word class. He is class. That is a great word. We know him well, and we have a very good relationship with his gym and his head trainer, Martin Bowers. So down at the Peacock Gym, Ellis was a lucky addition for us. The fight before, he was on a Frank Warren card. And I think he's now managed by Frank Warren, who might be by Martin at the Peacock. I'm not sure. But he went out about 9 o'clock on a BT card, which is prime time, and he stopped the fella. And I was hoping I would get him. And then when I saw that fight, I thought that probably means he'll go on some of these bigger cards because I don't have a TV platform, as you know.
Yeah.
So my business partner and I, there's two of us for TM14, Aaron and I. If they're going to get on a TV show, obviously, why wouldn't they? I thought, we won't get him. But, yeah, we spoke to him and we could get him on the card. And we were hoping that he would deliver the goods for the fans and get a knockout. And he certainly delivered, Explosive was the right word. It looked like he just done nothing. You know, it didn't last very long at all. First round, in fact, I don't even think it went more than a minute and a half. So he will be back out soon. Fingers crossed. I will hopefully have him back out on one of our cards if we can get it agreed, probably in Brentwood on June the 4th. It would be very good for Ellis now to maybe start getting him towards a title, like a Southern area or something like that. And I think that he is more than capable of winning that title. It's just about if his management team can steer him in that right direction, and then if we're honoured enough to get him on our card, and hopefully we will.
Yeah, hopefully. Of course, this weekend, Cardiff, you've got a big main event again. Mm-hmm. Who do you see winning the fight?
It's a really good question, Sam. You know, like I pride myself that we build really good relationships with fighters and gyms and trainers, and I'm always in and about them, so I feel like I know them really well. But because we're doing Cardiff, and I live sort of like Midlands kind of area, halfway between the Midlands and London, I don't really know the fighters that well down there. So I certainly know their names, and I've seen some bits on YouTube and seen the odd fights with some of them on TV, but I don't really know all of them that well. But my research tells me that Craig, obviously being the home fighter, he will go into it as the favourite. It's the Celtic title that they're fighting for. So Craig obviously being from Wales, and then you got Ronnie Clark. Ronnie Clark's from Scotland, but Ronnie Clark, he's had a couple of defeats recently. So I think some people look at that and think, oh, is Ronnie on the slide? He's getting a bit older now. Craig would be the favourite, but don't write Ronnie off. I'm not trying to sales pitch because that's my job to do it, but it is a 50-50 fight, exactly what we want to achieve. We wish both fighters very well, and we're just looking forward to a great scrap, but I wouldn't be surprised either way who won that.
Yeah, that's another 50-50 fight, really.
That's it. That's what we want. Like I said to you just now, if you've got a 50-50 fight, those that are watching it are going, oh, this is great. You know, it's a bit like the Brook Khan fight the other week. You know, nobody could pick it. Even I'm a diehard Brook fan. I always have been. But I was like, oh, is Khan going to beat him? And, you know, then your diehard Khan fans are like, well, could Brook beat him? Now, on the night, obviously, Kel did the job and did a good number on him. And maybe got him at the right time or whatever. But it's great when the build-up to a fight is 50-50 rather than it's a bit obvious who's going to win.
Yeah. For the fight this weekend, is there like a link where I can watch?
Yeah, good question, and it's good for the fans. So the last one was live on IFL TV, as you know. This one isn't live, sadly, on IFL TV. We've got some upcoming events that will be live, hopefully with IFL. This one is being filmed, the whole event with good commentators who are ex-Welsh pros, who are good names. That will be on YouTube the next day on Grassroots Boxing. So I'm not sure what time it will go on, Sam, but for you and the fans, if you just get on YouTube on the Sunday, it will be up there and you'll be able to watch the whole card. Hopefully a really good show again. We've got a stacked undercard of Welsh talent. They're very supportive down there in Wales. You know, they sort of like go out for their fighters no matter what, and there's a hotbed of talent down there in Cardiff, and some of them I think are from a bit further over in Swansea, but certainly from South Wales. I'm expecting a hot atmosphere, and I'm expecting some really good fights, and we pretty much sold out the venue as well, which obviously is a plus, so they'll be supported well on the night.
There's lots of big talents on that, and when it comes out I'll be very excited to watch it.
Yeah, good Sunday, mate. That's it. I'll be getting back probably in the middle of the night on Saturday night. Bit of a lie-in, get up myself and get that straight in on Sunday and watch it back because I'll be busy on the night. I'll obviously be watching it, but sometimes when you've got a bit of peace and quiet, and I might even watch it on the evening with a couple of beers on Sunday and just sort of like, oh, yeah, that was the right decision, etc. But I hope it's just a really good card for the fans.
Yeah, of course, you said, you mentioned about the 4th of June on Brentwood. Do we know who's on the card yet?
Not the Brentwood one yet, because that's what are we in now? March, April, May. It's 3 months away, so 12 weeks-ish is probably a bit too early to start doing a card because a lot of fighters will probably be out before then. Something could happen. They could get beat, they could get injured, anything could happen. So we also are going to announce, kind of like letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, but we'll be announcing Maidstone probably next week. We'll announce that now for May the 7th. And that's going to be a big event, just like the Brentwood one. Obviously, Maidstone down in Kent, so there's a lot of Kent fighters down there. I am assembling the card as we speak, and that'll be announced next week who's going to be on that card. But that's going to be a very good card. Very similar to what you saw in Brentwood. lots of sort of like undefeated talent, some 3-0s, 5-0s, bit more experience. Hopefully have a title fight on there. And Brentwood again, we'll definitely have 1 or 2 title fights hopefully at Brentwood, but that'll be announced probably with about 8 weeks to go. So we'll probably announce the Brentwood card in about 4 weeks from now, but we'll announce the Maidstone one next week.
Yeah, there are lots of 50-50 fights on the Maidstone one.
I'm trying, mate. That's what I want to do. Like I said before, sometimes it's sort of like whether they're ready for those defining fights yet, because it can sort of like make or break your career. It's easy me sat here in my armchair or trying to put on good cards from my point. You know, some of them think, well, you're putting me in early with someone who's dangerous. But a lot of these lads are like, yeah, give me the fights. But, you know, if they take these 50-50 fights, Sam, early,
Yeah.
you propel your career very quickly. And if you're confident in your ability to win it, which both Liam and Jack were, as the example we meant, look at what that means for Jack now. Took a 50-50 fight with Indabasi. That was a war. Beat him. Took a 50-50 fight with Liam. That was a war. Beat him. You're now starting to knock on the door for titles. Whereas maybe you might not got a title fight till your 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th fight. But that will come a lot earlier for Jack now, because Lee and his manager's superb, and his job is to steer him in the right direction. So if it's not the next fight, there'll be titles coming along for Jack, providing he goes in the right direction. But yeah, our aim in answer to your question is to get as many good 50-50 fights on where we can.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for your time, mate, and keep putting out those good cards.
No worries, Sam. Listen, it's a privilege to be on your show and your YouTube channel. You're welcome anytime to our events, mate, and you can interview all the fighters when you're down there.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate it.
No worries, champ. Catch you soon.
Yeah, bye, mate. Thank you.